New Mexico is a state located in the southwestern and western regions of the United States. It was admitted to the Union as the 47th state on January 6, 1912. It is usually considered one of the mountain states. New Mexico is the 5th most extensive, the 36th most populous, and the 6th least densely populated of the 50 United States. Inhabited by indigenous peoples of the Americas for many centuries before European exploration, New Mexico was subsequently part of the imperial Spanish Viceroyalty of New Spain. Later, it was part of Mexico before becoming a U.S. territory and eventually a U.S. state. Among U.S. states, New Mexico has the highest percentage of Hispanics, including descendants of Spanish colonists who have lived in the area for more than 400 years. It also has the second highest percentage of Native Americans after Alaska, and the fourth highest total number of Native Americans after California, Oklahoma, and Arizona. The nations in the state consist of mostly Navajo, Pueblo, and Apache peoples. As a result, the demographics and culture of the state are unique for their strong Hispanic and Native American influences, both of which are reflected in the state flag. The scarlet and gold colors of the New Mexico flag are taken from the royal standards of Spain, along with the ancient sun symbol of the Zia, a Pueblo-related tribe. New Mexico, or Nuevo México in Spanish, is often incorrectly believed to have taken its name from the nation of Mexico. However, New Mexico was given its name in 1563, and again in 1581, by Spanish explorers who believed the area contained wealthy Indian cultures similar to those of the Mexican Empire. Mexico, formerly a part of New Spain, adopted its name centuries later in 1821, after winning independence from Spanish rule. Consequently, New Mexico was only a part of the independent Federal Republic of Mexico for 12 years, 1836 through 1848. The two developed as neighboring Spanish-speaking communities, with relatively independent histories. Geography. The state's total area is 121,412 square miles. The eastern border of New Mexico lies along 103 degrees west longitude with the state of Oklahoma, and 3 miles west of 103 degrees west longitude with Texas. On the southern border, Texas makes up the eastern two-thirds, while the Mexican states of Chihuahua and Sonora make up the western third, with Chihuahua making up about 90% of that. The western border with Arizona runs along the 109 degrees 03 W longitude. The southwestern corner of the state is known as the Bootheel. The 37 degrees north latitude parallel forms the northern boundary with Colorado. The states New Mexico, Colorado, Arizona, and Utah come together at the four corners in the northwestern corner of New Mexico. New Mexico, although a large state, has very little water. Its surface water area is about 250 square miles. The New Mexican landscape ranges from wide, rose-colored deserts to broken mesas to high, snow-capped peaks. Despite New Mexico's arid image, heavily forested mountain wildernesses cover a significant portion of the state, especially towards the north. The Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the southernmost part of the Rocky Mountains, run roughly north-south along the east side of the Rio Grande in the rugged, pastoral north. The most important of New Mexico's rivers are the Rio Grande, Pecos, Canadian, San Juan, and Gila. The Rio Grande is tied for the fourth longest river in the U.S. The U.S. government protects millions of acres of New Mexico as national forests, including Carson National Forest, Cibola National Forest, Lincoln National Forest, Santa Fe National Forest, Gila National Forest, Gila Wilderness. Areas managed by the National Park Service include Aztec Ruins National Monument at Aztec, Bandelier National Monument in Los Alamos, Capulan Volcano National Monument near Capulan, Carlsbad Caverns National Park near Carlsbad, Chaco Culture National Historical Park at Nageezi, El Camino Real de Tierra Adentro National Historic Trail, El Malpais National Monument in Grants, El Morro National Monument in Rumar, Fort Union National Monument at Watrous, Gila Cliff Dwellings National Monument near Silver City, Old Spanish National Historic Trail, Pecos National Historical Park in Pecos, Petroglyph National Monument near Albuquerque, Salinas Pueblo Missions National Monument at Mountain Air, Santa Fe National Historic Trail, White Sands National Monument near Alamo Gordo, Rio Grande del Norte National Monument near Taos, Valles Caldera National Preserve. Visitors also frequent the surviving native pueblos of New Mexico. Tourists visiting these sites bring significant money to the state. Other areas of geographical and scenic interest include Catu Rocks National Monument in the Gila Wilderness in the southwest of the state. Climate. The climate of New Mexico is generally semi-arid to arid, though areas of continental and alpine climates exist, and its territory is mostly covered by mountains, high plains, and desert. The Great Plains are located in the eastern portion of the state, similar to the Colorado High Plains in eastern Colorado. The two states share similar terrain, with both having plains, mountains, basins, mesas, and desert lands. New Mexico's average precipitation rate is 13.9 inches a year. The average annual temperatures can range from 64 degrees Fahrenheit in the southeast to below 40 degrees Fahrenheit in the northern mountains. During the summer, daytime temperatures can often exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit at elevations below 5,000 feet. The average high temperature in July ranges from 97 degrees Fahrenheit at the lower elevations up to 78 degrees Fahrenheit at the higher elevations. Many cities in New Mexico can have temperature lows in the teens. The highest temperature recorded in New Mexico was 122 degrees Fahrenheit at the Waste Isolation Pilot Plant near Loving on June 27, 1994, and the lowest recorded temperature is -50 degrees Fahrenheit at Gavilan on February 1, 1951. Flora and fauna. New Mexico contains extensive habitat for many plants and animals, especially in desert areas and pinon-juniper woodlands, creosote bush, mesquite, cacti, yucca, and desert grasses, including black grama, purple thorn, tobosa, and burrograss, cover the broad, semi-arid plains of the southern portion of the state. The northern portion of the state is home to many tree species such as ponderosa pine, aspen, cottonwood, spruce, fir, and Russian olive, which is an invasive species. Native birds include the greater roadrunner and wild turkey. Other fauna present in New Mexico include black bears, cougars, jaguars, coyotes, porcupines, skunks, Mexican gray wolves, deer, elk, plains bison, collared peccary, bighorn sheep, squirrels, chipmunks, pronghorns, a western diamondbacks, kangaroo rats, jackrabbits, and a multitude of other birds, reptiles, and rodents. The black bear, native to New Mexico, Ursus americanus ambliceps, was formally adopted as the state's official animal in 1953. History. The first known inhabitants of New Mexico were members of the Clovis culture of Paleo-Indians. Later inhabitants include American Indians of the Mogollon and ancestral Pueblo peoples cultures. By the time of European contact in the 16th century, the region was settled by the villages of the Pueblo peoples and groups of Navajo, Apache, and Ute. Francisco Vasquez de Coronado assembled an enormous expedition at Compostela in 1540 to 1542 to explore and find the mystical seven golden cities of Cibola as described by Fray Marcos de Niza. The name Nuevo México was first used by a seeker of gold mines named Francisco de Ibarra, who explored far to the north of Mexico in 1563 and reported his findings as being in New Mexico. Juan de Onate officially established the name when he was appointed the first governor of the new province of New Mexico in 1598. The same year, he founded the San Juan de los Caballeros colony, the first permanent European settlement in the future state of New Mexico, on the Rio Grande near Ocao en el Pueblo. Onate extended El Camino Real de Tierra Adentro, Royal Road of the Interior, by 700 miles from Santa Barbara, Chihuahua, to his remote colony. The settlement of Santa Fe was established at the foot of the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, the southernmost sub-range of the Rocky Mountains, around 1608. The city, along with most of the settled areas of the state, was abandoned by the Spanish for 12 years as a result of the successful Pueblo Revolt. After the death of the Pueblo leader Pope Diego de Vargas restored the area to Spanish rule, while developing Santa Fe as a trade center. The returning settlers founded Albuquerque in 1706 from existing surrounding communities, naming it for the Viceroy of New Spain, Francisco Fernández de la Cueva, 10th Duke of Albuquerque. As a part of New Spain, the claims for the province of New Mexico passed to independent Mexico in 1821 following the Mexican War of Independence. The Republic of Texas claimed the portion east of the Rio Grande when it seceded from Mexico in 1836. When it incorrectly assumed the older Hispanic settlements of the upper Rio Grande were the same as the newly established Mexican settlements of Texas. Texas' only attempt to establish a presence or control in the claimed territory was the failed Texan Santa Fe expedition, when their entire army was captured and jailed by Hispanic New Mexico militia. The extreme northeastern part of New Mexico was owned by France, and sold to the United States as part of the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. Occupation. Following the Mexican-American War, from 1846 to 1848 and the Treaty of Guadalupe-Hidalgo in 1848, Mexico ceded its mostly unsettled northern holdings, today known as the American Southwestern California, to the United States of America. In the Compromise of 1850, Texas ceded its claims to the area lying east of the Rio Grande in exchange for $10 million, and the U.S. government established the New Mexico Territory on September 9, 1850, including most of the present-day states of Arizona and New Mexico, and part of Colorado. The United States acquired the southwestern bootheel of the state and southern Arizona below the Gila River in the mostly desert Gadsden Purchase of 1853, which was related to the construction by the U.S. of a transcontinental railroad. The Compromise of 1850 created the current boundary between New Mexico and Texas. It is also considered during this time a surveyor's error awarded the Permian Basin to the state of Texas, which included the city of El Paso. Claims to the Permian were initially dropped by New Mexico in a bid to gain statehood in 1911. New Mexico played a role in the Trans-Mississippi Theater of the American Civil War. Both Confederate and Union governments claimed ownership and territorial rights over New Mexico Territory. In 1861, the Confederacy claimed the Southern Tract as its own Arizona Territory and waged the ambitious New Mexico Campaign in an attempt to control the American Southwest and open up access to Union California. Confederate power in the New Mexico Territory was effectively broken after the Battle of Glorieta Pass in 1862. However, the Confederate territorial government continued to operate out of Texas, and Confederate troops marched under the Arizona flag until the end of the war. Additionally, over 8,000 troops from New Mexico Territory served the Union. Congress admitted New Mexico as the 47th state in the Union on January 6, 1912. A major oil discovery in 1928 brought prosperity to the state, especially Lee County and the town of Hobbs, named for James Hobbs, who was a homesteader there in 1907. The Midwest State No. 1 well, begun in late 1927 with a standard cable tool drilling rig, revealed the first signs of oil from the Hobbs field on June 13, 1928. drilled to 4,330 feet and completed a few months later. The well produced 700 barrels of oil per day on state land. The Midwest Refining Company's Hobbs well produced oil until 2002. The New Mexico Bureau of Mines and Mineral Resources called it the most important single discovery of oil in New Mexico's history. During World War II, the first atomic bombs were designed and manufactured at Los Alamos, and the first was tested at Trinity Site in the desert between Socorro and Alamogordo on what is now White Sands Missile Range. New Mexico has benefited from federal government spending. It is home to 3 Air Force bases, White Sands Missile Range, and the Federal Research Laboratories Los Alamos National Laboratory and Sandia National Laboratories. The state's population grew rapidly after World War II, growing from 531,818 in 1940 to 1,819,046 in 2000. Employment growth areas in New Mexico include microelectronics, call centers, and Indian casinos. Demographics. Population. The United States Census Bureau estimates that the population of New Mexico was 2,085,109 on July 1, 2015, a 1.26% increase since the 2010 United States Census. Of the people residing in New Mexico, 51.4% were born in New Mexico, 37.9% were born in a different U.S. state, 1.1% were born in Puerto Rico, U.S. island areas, or born abroad to American parent, and 9.7% were foreign-born. About 7.5% of New Mexico's population was reported as under 5 years of age, 25% under 18, and 13% were 65 or older. Women make up around 51% of the population. As of 2000, 8% of the residents of the state were foreign-born. Among U.S. states, New Mexico has the highest percentage of Hispanic ancestry, at 47%. Including descendants of Spanish colonists and recent immigrants from Latin America. Cities, towns, and counties. Race and ancestry. The U.S. Census Bureau estimated that 47.0% of the total 2012 population was Hispanic or Latino of any race, the highest of a state. The majority of Hispanics in New Mexico claim Spanish ancestry, especially those in the northern part of the state. These Hispanos of New Mexico are the descendants of Spanish colonists who arrived during the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries, and they speak New Mexican Spanish or English at home. The state also has a large Native American population, second in percentage behind that of Alaska. The 2012 racial composition of the population was estimated to be 83.2% white American, 10.2% American Indian and Alaska Native, 2.4% Black or African American, 1.6% Asian, 0.2% Native Hawaiian and other Pacific Islander, 2.4% two or more races. According to the United States Census Bureau, 1.5% of the population is multiracial, mixed race, a population larger than both the Asian and NHPI population groups. In 2008, New Mexico had the highest percentage of Hispanics of any state, with 83% of these native-born and 17% foreign-born. According to estimates from the United States Census Bureau's 2006 to 2008 American Community Survey 3-year estimate, New Mexico's population was 1,962,226. The number of New Mexicans of different single races were: white, 1,375,334, black, 43,931, American Indian or Alaskan Native, 182,136, Asian, 26,767, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, 854. and 273,778 of some other race. There were 59,415 of two or more races. There were 873,171 Hispanics or Latino. According to the 2000 United States Census, the most commonly claimed ancestry groups in New Mexico were Mexican, American Indian, German, Spanish and English languages. According to the 2000 U.S. Census, 28.76% of the population aged 5 and older speak Spanish at home, while 4.07% speak Navajo. Speakers of New Mexican Spanish dialect are mainly descendants of Spanish colonists who arrived in New Mexico in the 16th, 17th, and 18th centuries. New Mexican Spanish is an archaic form of 17th-century Castilian Spanish. Official language. The original state constitution of 1912 provided for a bilingual government with laws being published in both English and Spanish. This requirement was renewed twice, in 1931 and 1943. Nonetheless, the Constitution does not declare any languages official, while Spanish was permitted in the legislature until 1935. All state officials are required to have a good knowledge of English. Covarrubias and Fishman therefore argue that New Mexico cannot be considered a bilingual state as not all laws are published in both languages. Others, such as Juan Perea, claim that the state was officially bilingual until 1953. In either case, Hawaii is the only state that remains officially bilingual in the 21st century. With regard to the judiciary, witnesses have the right to testify in either of the two languages, and monolingual speakers of Spanish have the same right to be considered for jury duty as do speakers of English. In public education, the state has the constitutional obligation to provide for bilingual education and Spanish-speaking instructors in school districts where the majority of students are Hispanophone. In 1995, the state adopted an official bilingual song, New Mexico, Mi Lindo Nuevo México. In 1989, New Mexico became the first state to officially adopt the English Plus resolution, and in 2008, the first to officially adopt a Navajo textbook for use in public schools. Religion. According to Association of Religion Data Archives, the largest denominations in 2010 were the Catholic Church with 684,941, the Southern Baptist Convention with 113,452, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints with 67,637, and the United Methodist Church with 36,424 adherents. According to a 2008 survey by the Pew Research Center, the most common self-reported religious affiliation of New Mexico residents are mentioned in reference Catholic Church hierarchy. Within the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, New Mexico belongs to the ecclesiastical province of Santa Fe. New Mexico has 3 dioceses, one of which is an archdiocese: Archdiocese of Santa Fe, Diocese of Gallup, Diocese of Las Cruces.